Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. It is Wednesday, December 28th, right at noon. The current temperature is 55 degrees, humidity is 28%, and as y'all saw in the intro footage, the bees are hitting the pollen sub hard. All three 5-gallon buckets that we have about half a pound of the Bee Pro pollen substitute has a ton of bees on it. However, if you also noticed in the intro footage, all of that activity, my assumption, is surprisingly coming from these two hives, the hives in the first and the second position. And we'll talk about that here in a second, because what I'm not talking about is the hive in the very last position does not have any activity on it. So before I get into what the plan is today in the bee yard, let's talk about the upcoming weather. So the low over the next 24 hours, if you want to call it that, is going to occur right at sunrise, and that's 29 degrees. However, tomorrow's high is 61, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's 68 degrees and 69 degrees with lows in the low 40s, which occurs Friday, so probably Saturday morning. And then Saturday and Sunday, according to the My Accurate app, because we have the weather station in the backyard, the lows are in the low 50s, and it seems to be the trend all the way into early next week with some thunderstorms, surprisingly. But regardless, the point of all that is this last bit of cold weather should be ending starting tomorrow, and then especially through the weekend. So with all that said, the season has slowed down a lot over the last few weeks, to where the cool thing, I think at least, is by the time y'all are watching these videos, it's just a week later versus a few weeks later. So it's pretty current with what's going on here in the bee yard. On that topic, this will be my second to last time in the yard for the year, because with the upcoming warm weather, I'm going to get into hive 1 and 2. Probably won't conduct a full inspection, but I really want to look around, check the food stores for sure, the candy boards, and take a peek at a few of the center frames to see how the brood is looking, because the winter solstice occurred on December 22nd, so about a week ago, which means the days are getting just a little longer. But believe it or not, and speaking from experience, by paying attention to that in the prior years, is you can definitely start to see an increase in brood production right after the winter solstice. So that's what I'm going to do Friday. So that will actually be the very last video of 2022. But what I'm going to do today is open up the hive in the 4th, the 5th, and I think that was the 7th position, and show y'all some more dead outs. So the most recent video that publish is tomorrow on the 29th, so y'all probably saw that about a week ago if you watched it, is my suspicions of those hives being dead outs. But today I'm just going to confirm it by opening them up and taking a look, because there is absolutely no activity. There's some dead bees, I'll show you right now, at the entrance, which is normal this time of year, but based off the activity from 1 and 2, I mean, this is what we should be seeing. You always have some dead bees this time of year, but with this much activity, these hives are alive and well. This one, if you watch the previous videos or not, no activity for a few weeks. Same with this one. And then 7, surprisingly, I thought this one would survive without any problems. That queen marked her back in like late July, early August, I think late July, once I came back from California. That was one of the combined inspections I did with Paul from Warden's farm, but I thought they would survive the winter. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to open up hive 4, 5, and 7 and show y'all the unfortunate side of beekeeping, which is dead outs, which usually occur during the winter. I've lost a lot of hives over the years at the tail end of winter, which is March for us, and my suspicions on those hives was due to starvation, which is why I'm substituting or supplementing bee pollen heavily this year. But yeah, just want to get into the hives, confirm my suspicions, share it with y'all, and depending how things look, feel free to leave a comment with what you think caused these hives to not survive. I have my thoughts, but I'll share them as we go through the colonies. All right, let's take a look at those hives and see what we can determine. All right, this is very unfortunate to see, which is the state of the candy board, meaning it looks like the bees didn't even have a chance to really hit the hard candy before the colony died. It won't go to waste. I'll just move this over to either one of the other colonies that's still alive on Friday. Alright, so this is a little more strange than usual. So usually with a dead out, you'll have a whole bunch of dead bees on the bottom board, and as y'all can see, I don't have anything. So let me clean this off. A little debris, not much. But yeah, let me clean that off and let's see what we can figure out from the actual deep box here. I don't really see much of anything going on. I mean, this is pretty typical. If I can get this on camera, you can see the bees buried down in the cells, assuming to try and keep warm. But I don't see a cluster or anything right now. It's somewhat unusual. No cluster, no bees, nothing. It's very odd. All right, so kind of a strange start to today, because typically you find a cluster of bees right where they died, but as y'all saw, nothing in the hive in the 4th position. So all right, I'm just gonna move this equipment around. I'll set the candy board aside, like I said, to put down on hive 1 or 2 later this week when it warms up a little more. Yeah, just gonna clean this up a little bit and we'll get into hive number 4 next here in a second. All right, moving right next door. This is the hive in the 5th position, I believe. Same looking scenario as the hive in the 4th position. Looks like I got the candy boards on just too late, and the bees did not really touch that at all, which is very unfortunate. All right, let's get down into this box and see what's going on. this is kind of strange too, at least strange to me, because looks like they had some food, which I'm gonna leave this out, or I'm gonna set this top box out over by some of the pollen feeders and let the bees, let the surviving hives just rob this out. All right, I'm just gonna go through the rest of this top box, see how much food is available for the surviving colonies, and then show you what the bottom box looks like here in a second. All right, this is more of your typical dead out. So not necessarily a cluster of bees still hanging out in between any frames, because I believe they died out that long ago. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a little yellow dot down there, and that is the queen. Let me just take this box off and show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, so here's your typical dead out, at least what you expect to find. And there she is right there. It's very unfortunate, but it happens more often than it should this time of year. All right, so I'm just gonna do the same thing, go through the frames, kind of scrape off any excessive wax like this. Really just kind of taking the time since I'm out here to do some cleanup in preparations for next year. But yeah, we'll finish up by looking into number 7, which, like I said in the intro, that was the last hive that I thought would die out this year. All right, moving right along down at the hive in the 7th position. I'm willing to bet it's probably a very similar scenario, and it appears to be that way. Man, I must have just got the candy boards on the hives just too late. Last year I added them, I think I added them pretty early because I was home in October, which is usually still pretty warm here in eastern North Carolina. And then this year I added them too late. So, all right, let me take the candy board off, move it down on top of the other two, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll take a look at the top box and then get into the bottom box and see what we can determine. All right, I'm just gonna let the camera roll as I pull some frames. I mean, the silver lining, I suppose, is as long as you preserve the frames well, there's a lot of nice wax that's ready to use in the spring. So it's not, you know, it's not a total loss, because there is a lot of nice wax, like I said. But yeah, here you go. This is pretty typical of a dead out. The bees just bury themselves in the cells to try and keep warm. I don't know if you can see that, but to the left side, it looks like there's the cluster. And this colony had a lot of bees in it. The population was pretty nice. My thoughts, like I said in the intro, I'd share them as we went through the colonies. I think they burned through their food stores in the top box. Let me back up. I've overwintered colonies just like this for years with a deep and a medium box. But I think with the unusual warm weather we had this year, because it really didn't cool off until about mid to late December when that Arctic blast cold front came through the entire country. I think I saw in the news the temperature was like 25 degrees colder than it usually is for that time of year. So anyway, I think the bees burned through the food stores that they had built up, and starvation may have been a factor, which it usually is. Starvation plus too much space plus the colder temperatures than usual is what I think attributed to some of these colonies dying off. Let me show you this real quick. So I set this box out here, which I said I was going to set more so out there next to that pollen feeder, but I figured since it's in the sun here, the bees will get to it. Should keep the wax moths away, but it looks like they're already on it and getting any kind of food stores that was left over. All right, I'll show you more in a second. I'm just going to go through the top box here and do some cleaning as I go. All right, just got done cleaning up the top box. Separate some frames. I don't know if that'll come up, but just debris and a bunch of dead bees on the bottom there. That seems to be the main cluster. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Too much space, not enough food, and just colder temps than usual. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. That is a mess of bees down there and on the frames. All right, let me do some more cleaning up and I'll show you the big pile here in a second on the bottom board. All right, folks, here you go. This is what I was saying. Number 7 had a ton of bees. As you can see, they had capped brood and everything. And check that out, if you can see that or not. There's the queen right there. This might give you a better look at a true colony loss. Ton of bees in this colony died. All right, I finished up with that last hive quite a few minutes ago, probably the better part of 30 minutes. But as you can see, if I get out of the direct sun, the bees are very, very active, which is amazing to think. All of the activity you see right now is coming from just these 2 hives. And if I sound a little winded, it's just because I got done moving all this equipment around and cleaning up the far side, which is like the supply yard. But yeah, quick look, stacked all the deeps vertically, and as you can see, the bees are busy making use of any remaining food stores from the dead outs. And then something else I wanted to show y'all real quick before I boxed it up and forgot. I just took the 3 candy boards, stacked them on top of bottom board. I gotta grab a top cover real quick, and I'm just gonna cover them up. But I'll be back out here in 2 days on Friday when the weather's in the 70s to get into the first 2 hives and just take a quick look at them. But yeah, this is a different look for the bee yard. It is usually pretty full with colonies, but as you can see, I lost all but 2 so far. I really don't want to say that out loud and jinx myself. But yeah, it's been a pretty rough year. I mean, granted, I just came back in July. If y'all aren't aware of that, from California, so I've only been back in the yard for about 5 to 6 months. But luckily, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the county's got a great beekeeping club and a lot of veterans, a lot of retired Marines. So they understand the lifestyle, and I've made some good friends that way who've bailed me out over the years in times of need, usually when I have to deploy or move away for an extended period of time. And Paul being one of them over at Warden's Farm. I'll post his channel down in the comments or in the description. But yeah, check him out. Awesome beekeeper, good friend, twice retired Marine and retired game warden, and just living his best life at this point, keeping bees. You can learn a lot from him. He's got a really cool channel. He does some pretty cool stuff with beekeeping, so go check him out sometime. But it is amazing to see. I can't say it enough. Let me look at the temp on my phone real quick. But it is amazing to see just how active these 2 colonies are right now. And it makes sense. It's 60 degrees, 30% humidity. I had my concerns for hive number 1 on the right side, the hive with the deep and the medium, because they were not showing a lot of activity at all over the last few days. But as you can see now, they are pouring out of the entrance. So I got some work to do. I'll be making some splits as early as possible from these 2 hives. turn those 2 into 4, maybe turn those 4 into 8, and fill up the yard again. But I really enjoy my setup here. I really enjoy our property, and it's really nice when this yard's full. So I got some work to do in 2023. I noticed the same thing a few days ago when I was feeding the bees pollen. They are all over any surrounding plant, to include the pine trees, which is a bit odd. Check that out up there too. And this is why. They are just hitting the pollen sub hard, which is good to see. It's not going to go to waste this year. All right, everybody, I am officially done. Second to last time in the bee yard for 2022. It is 1:40, so I've been out here for about an hour and 40 minutes, and I've never seen the bee yard so empty. But I guess that's how things go. 2 hives are still kicking, and I am ready for the spring. Definitely gonna make some splits. Plan on capturing some swarms with some of the folks from the bee club who caught, I think, in excess of 50 swarms last year. So as long as you get in good with them and get on the team and participate, catching swarms is an easy way to stock up a yard real quick, especially come about April time for us in eastern North Carolina and Onslow County. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully everybody has a happy and safe New Year's. 2022 is good. Hopefully 2023 is even better. Again, appreciate everybody that subscribes and watches our videos. Got one more coming for the year, and that's it. So check out next week's video, and I'll see everybody in 2023. Going to be right at sunrise, if you want to say that's tonight. Actually,